That vlog's due today, isn't it? I'm sorry, that sight was never meant for human eyes. I learned quite a lot from this course. I have to be a functioning human adult who wakes up before 8 p.m. and gets to school on time. I learned that I can sprint from the parking lot into that classroom in 3 minutes flat. I learned how to navigate and deal with all the various pathways and methods that we humans use to communicate with one another, and manage all the relationships in my life. There can be tricky roads to drive down, but thanks to your course I now have a roadmap. In this class, appropriately named Perspectives on Human Communication, I learned a good deal of communication theories. Way too much information to get into in a 10-minute vlog, so I'm only going to focus on 5 of them that I can use not only in my everyday life, but in my senior project next year. For said senior project, I'd like to examine outdated, archaic types of film. I'm sort of a film nerd and I like, obviously, vintage stuff with a modern twist. So to try that on for size, I'd like to explain the information I learned in the course through various film styles. Bear with me. How about film noir? It was raining that night in the cesspool we called the city, and I was up, with nothing to do but stare out at the vast emptiness outside the window of my office. I read this book once that said to break the loneliness-depression cycle, you need to avoid sad passivity, a state in which you feel sorry for yourself, sit alone, and perhaps cry. Instead, you should try to engage in active solitude. But the most effective way to deal with loneliness is through social action, especially through helping people in need. And then, she sashayed into my office. She walked through the door like a tigress walks into a Burmese orphanage. Strawberry blonde and legs for days. She had bad news written on her like October of '29. Just the thing I needed to alleviate my soul-crushing boredom, and a landlady off my back. She said she wanted me to investigate some organization called Voytal that was responsible for the disappearance of her father. She said an organization may be defined as an organized group of people who work together to achieve compatible goals. I thought, wow, how do you know this kind of stuff? What can I say? I took the case. I dusted off my jacket, lit up my last cigarette, grabbed my fedora, and walked out the door. Time to call on some old friends. Walked into the bar to shake down the usual suspects. Little Weasel told me that you develop relationships that will enable you to maximize your profits. The louse called it social exchange theory. We exchanged a few punches in the back alleyway. And then I saw her. Wow. Zowie. She was a knockout. I don't know why we're attracted who we're attracted to. I knew a guy once that said, attraction theory holds that people form relationships on the basis of attraction. You are no doubt drawn or attracted to some people and not to others. In a similar way, some people are attracted to you and some are not. I said to him, what are you? A communication professor? Last, it was time to infiltrate DeVito Inc. With my knowledge of organizational communication, it was a cakewalk. Cleverly disguised as a beatnik delivery boy, I had no trouble sneaking in to sniff for clues. Like a good old gumshoe, I kept my ear down to the grapevine. Years of experience had told me that's where you find the real information, from the average Joes down at the bottom of the gutter, looking up at the stars. I once knew a guy who told me that grapevine messages don't follow any of the formal, hierarchical lines of communication established in an organization. Rather, they seem to have a life of their own. It was with my knowledge of interpersonal deception theory that I finally sniffed out the rat. He'd been running the joint the whole time. This was the dirty bum who not only iced my client's father, but whacked my partner 10 years ago. Case closed. Okay, I'm really running out of ideas for films here. How about Mad Men meets The Walking Dead? Marriage in disrepair? Husband a bum? Wife infected by a zombie bite? Sounds like you've fallen victim to relationship dialectics theory. Relationship dialectics theory dictates that individuals in a relationship go through dynamic tensions between pairs of opposite wants and agendas. Can you guess what kind of tension this couple is experiencing? Is it A, tension between closedness and openness, a desire to be in a monogamous relationship versus the desire to be with other people? B, the tension between autonomy and connection, the desire to remain an individual versus a desire to connect intimately? Or C, the tension between novelty and predictability, the desire to constantly seek new experiences versus the desire to remain comfortable in predictability? If you guess C, you're correct. This typically occurs in the later stages of a relationship as things grow stale. Relationship dialectics theory argues that these tensions result in a wide variety of behaviors. She wants to dance, be intimate, and do his bidding, like a good 50s housewife. And he wants to stay in his routine of smoking, reading the paper, and being abusive and neglectful, like any good 50s husband. If these tensions cannot be reconciled, the relationship may head into disrepair and dissolution, the cutting of all ties. This can end in divorce, or your zombified wife eviscerating your face. Stay tuned for our next instructional video, Vampires and Social Exchange Theory.
such a good night to kiss. It is such a good night to kiss.